All systems are go. I believe all systems are go. Uh, This is Janice, and I'd like to welcome you to the Achievement Mastery Podcast. So happy whatever day it is, wherever you are. We are so excited to be here with you today. And today, I have just an amazing person who has who has done some things to help people to transcend what they thought they could ever do. And that's what it is the podcast is about, helping people to understand what skills they have and how they can accentuate them to achieve the goals that they desire. So this gentleman is a former sports agent, now entrepreneur, businessman, speaker, author, trainer, coach. Let's not forget father and husband. The amazing Simon Chan. Simon, welcome to the show. How are you today, my friend?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for those kind words.
Oh, you definitely deserve them. I couldn't even begin to say, so I just had to minimize it so that we didn't take a long time just with the intro. But you have been a person ever since I had the opportunity of meeting you and working with you, have been a person who has exemplified what I believe a lot of people could take on and use to become even stronger and more effective in the things that they do. So, Simon, right out the gate, I would like to talk to you about, or would like to hear, what is Simon doing now? So, we're going to talk about now, then we're going to talk about that tripwire that got you to the now, and then some of the things that you're working on with regard to your book and what it is that you feel would be helpful for the audience. So, what is it that Simon is doing now? Where are you and what's going on in life?
Wow. So, what am I doing now? It's like a lot of exciting things. I'm a small business coach and started in direct selling, made a seven-figure business. And then 11 years ago, I can't believe it's been 11 years. Actually, technically 12 years, but full time 11, been a full time coach for the direct selling. And I still enjoy doing that. Got big plans. We're doing a lot of rebranding. Um, growing our masterminds, what I call a consistency champions group, and then also starting my third business, which is coaching people outside of direct selling, and especially helping them with systems for sales and marketing and lead generation. So that is what I'm working and exciting on. Other than that, also very involved with competitive youth baseball. My oldest son has ambitions to a dream to become a pro, to play college baseball, be a pro. So working with them on a timeline and a game plan for that.
That's awesome. And it's interesting that you mentioned that you are now exploring and actually expanding into helping people outside of the multi-level marketing world. Because as I've read your book and then revisited your book, I said to myself, MLM and network marketing, they can use this. But guess what? What about the rest of the people who need to be consistent and who need to have the skills that you can offer them? So I'm happy to hear that you have decided to expand into that world. Now, let me ask you this question, or let me make a statement, and then I'm going to ask you a question. You have been a very successful network marketer and have built organizations around the world. I think 20 countries with thousands upon thousands of people and helping them to be successful. And then you transition into a more neutral zone with regard to the multi-level marketing organization and have expanded to help other people become successful. And that's the space that I met you in. And you were actually my coach. And for that, I do still want to thank you for all of your straight up conversation and your help and the questions. So you've done all of that. What was the tripwire that moved you from the sports arena, which is where I think you were right before you came into network marketing? What was the tripwire? What made you say, it's time to think about something else?
Well, at that time, I had a job that I loved, and I worked at the NBA, became a play agent for a very short minute. One of my best friends played in the NBA, and that's how I got involved in that. Well, I worked at the NBA, became friends with him, and he asked me to leave the NBA to work for him. That's how I got started. But I used to. I was dating years ago, decades ago. I dated a girl that dumped me. Okay, and she dumped me. I was actually really angry at that time, but she never really respected the stuff I did, even though I love my job.
Mm.
Right, and I didn't understood it, but her biggest contribution to me was she told me about a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that book is one of the top three most life changing books I ever read. It basically talked to you like if you want to live the life you want to live, you got to have your own business, right? Something that
Yes.
pays you even when you're not working. If you're always trading time for money, you're always going to be stuck at the job. So you want residual income, working something once and getting paid. And I was like, this is me, I'm in. So, and I felt that, I went to a prestigious university. I graduated from Ivy League, Columbia University, but no one ever told me how to make money for myself. They just told me how
Right.
to get a job or work for someone. I said, wow, I don't want a job. I want to work for myself and build something that will continue to pay me. It was a challenge. It was exciting. So I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a business background. I never did sales and marketing. And through a lot of research, just basically a long story short, I thought about a franchise. I thought about, and then, as you know, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. It's a big part of my life. And at that time, I was also doing a lot of soul searching.
Hmm.
And I read Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. And from that book, I discovered that God's purpose for me was to have a positive impact as many lives as possible. And even though I'm a shy, quiet Asian kid from Brooklyn, New York, I'm always coaching and mentoring, right? I would mentor kids in basketball. I was helping out with the youth. I was a youth counselor basically in college for my church when I was in college. I enjoyed mentoring people, and I realized
Hmm.
direct selling or network marketing is if you really want the residual income, it's not just making sales. If you want to make sales, you can sell real estate, go sell cars. But if you want residual income, you got to empower others and you get paid proportionately to how much people you've helped. The more you help them, the more you get paid. You get that residual income. And I felt like that's like, and I kind of discovered that industry at the same time I read Purpose Driven Life. I felt God was telling me, hey, this is your calling. Go do it. Even though you're not a good speaker, you learn. This is your calling. So that's how I got started. And no one actually recruited me, very rare. I just did some research, found a company, and looked someone up on, just put the company name in Los Angeles in Google. Some person's website came up, and I called a guy. I said, how do I sign up? Sign me up. And that's how I got started.
Okay. Well, we want to stop right there. And now I want everybody to know it is possible to build an organization without being out in the streets recruiting people, because when the right people come, the right people will come. And that's amazing. I know of only two other people who recruited themselves basically. And that's exactly what you did, and you have become successful. And what I like about the understanding or the expression around network marketing, which tends to have a bad rap, is that you don't necessarily have to be extroverted, and you do not have to struggle with it if it's something that you like and you can find your own voice in the midst of it. So that's a great thing to be able to understand that. So
Well, I
then
want to I want to add something to that, right?
sure.
So I don't think I ever liked, and I think most people don't like doing the work.
Mhm.
And you don't need to be extroverted, but you do need to learn to turn it on and turn it off.
Okay.
So, like right now, I'm speaking to you. I'm an introvert. Like to eat lunch by myself. I like to watch movies by myself. I'm like a loner type of person. But I learned to turn, like right now, I gotta be on your show. I gotta turn it on. Then afterwards, I'm gonna go work out by myself and turn it off. Right. So
Mhm.
that really helped me. In the beginning, I thought these people were like outgoing, like you're more an outgoing person. You have to be like that. No, you don't need to. You can be your normal self, but you can turn it on and then you can turn it off.
Mhm.
So
Right.
knowing that I can turn it off, it's like, oh, that's great. As long as I go out there, do my meetings, presentations, and afterwards I can still be the same time and turn it off. I recharge. That was a big thing that encouraged me. Like I can do this. And then the second thing is I don't think anyone likes to do the work passion. I would say I definitely did not have passion
Mm,
for the products I sold. I didn't have passion for doing the work, but I did have passion for my vision and dream to help others. And the
right.
products and everything, that was just a vehicle to get help me achieve that dream to make an impact on others. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah,
Right?
it makes sense.
No, no,
Yes.
sometimes people say like, and I hate when people say this, like, oh, don't do that, choose your passion. Well, the passion doesn't pay you any money. Some people go do what you're passionate about. I think a lot of
Right.
people are successful. They don't like really doing what they do. They're passionate about the dream, the overall thing,
Yes.
but the one
Yes.
short-term vehicle, that's not something they're passionate about. But they know that they gotta do that. They gotta do the work you don't like to do in order
Right.
so you get to deserve to do the things you like to do.
Yeah. There is this model called the Ikigai model, which you've probably have heard of. And there's a blend of four things that Ikigai is a Japanese model. And there are four things that when you blend them together, you find what Ikigai means, which is the meaning of life.
Mm.
And the four circles. And so one circle is doing what you love. The next circle is being what are you good at doing? So you may love a lot of things, but you may only be good at a subset of that. Then of that subset, what do people need? So what you love, what you do well, what people need, and then what can you get paid for? So
Mm.
when you wrap those four together, then you have what the Japanese call the meaning of life or the ikigai. So a lot of people, and you'll see starving artists, you'll see, people who are actors and they are servers by day, actors by night, but not really making a living wage because for some reason, like you said, that passion is misunderstood when it comes to being practical.
So good. I've never actually, that's new to me, but it makes so much sense, Janice.
Yeah, I'll send you the model. It is something that I've helped people with when I'm working inside of the career space to help people to understand how to balance what the career means in comparison to the fulfillment of life. Because sometimes, like you said, people are not passionate about what they do, but they understand what the ultimate goal is. So they hang on to what it is they do in order to get to the ultimate goal. And that causes people that requires people to actually have a balance with regard to their emotional intelligence. Because if you're not in a space where you can manage stuff when it's not happening for you, but you know what your goals are. If you are not in that space, you're going to drop things like a hot potato, and every other week you're going to be in a different opportunity, you're going to be in a different
Yeah.
industry, and you never really can settle down when you have those kinds of situations. So
So by
that's
the way,
great
I'm just let you know, sorry, I'm drinking my electrolytes. I've been
oh no, I
it's
have
all
I have
related to
my
the show
water.
too, because I've been speaking nonstop for 3 hours doing coaching. I had a podcast interview for my show, coaching calls and everything. But this is I want to add to that passion. It's like stuff that you start off with, you may not like doing, like speaking with
Mhm.
somebody I did not like to do. But the ironic thing is once you get better and better at it, you start enjoying it. So what's
Yes,
something that you may not like doing now, you just don't know. You
right,
start doing it, and it's kind of like the better you get at it, the more you like it. Right. So
right.
I enjoy coaching people. I enjoy helping, seeing people make an impact. I still remember the course we did. So, but anyway, I'm drinking my electrolytes because I've been talking nonstop for 3 hours, like the third hour now, the 3.5 hours since like,
Well, you know what? I want to appreciate you for managing through that and being on here with us today because this audience needs to hear what it is you have to say as we bring together a blend of voices to help people to understand that skills are important and everybody doesn't have every skill, but the ones that we have, we can definitely build upon in order to have a life of achievement. And once we achieve one thing, then we can stack that mastery and then ultimately get to a place of fulfillment and success.
yeah.
So
And I love
if
your
you
show, Avoiding Average with a Vengeance, right? I think that's something I never want to be average. I think if you're watching this or listening to this, you don't want to be average. So
no,
when people say, you're doing calls for 3 hours straight, that's crazy. That's the average person speaking. But people are not average. You're like, oh, that's
Right.
awesome. Time, keep going.
Right.
Right. So if I think this is something people feel bad they don't fit in. If you want to fit in, that's basically, you don't want to be successful. Because think about it, the
No.
definition of success is to stand out, right? Whether, and everyone's a different definition of success, whether
Right.
spending time with your kids that other people are not doing, or living that big mansion that no one else can buy, or driving a car that no one else has. This definition of success basically is about standing out, being different from
Yes.
everyone. So if you're starting off here and you want to fit in, or you feel bad, your friends are saying this, they don't get you, that's a compliment. That means you're on the road to success because you're not
Right.
standing out. And if you fit in, that's when you know. If you fit in with everyone else, then that's when you know that you need to be hanging out with different people.
Yeah, you need a new crowd because
You need a new crowd.
mediocre is crowded.
Yes.
Mediocre is crowded. And one of my favorite images, I don't know if it's called my animal or whatever, but one of my favorite images is an eagle, because eagles literally fly alone, except they come together to procreate. And they do what they do together, and then they separate until the next year, and then they come back and procreate. So they don't even fly together after they've had their children and all of that kind of stuff, because they have a different sense that's innate in the type of animal that they are. And so if a person feels like, oh, well, I'll be alone if I decide to pursue this, or I'll be alone if I decide to pursue that, there is something inside of you that is calling you to do what you need to do it.
Yeah.
And the people who are called to be around you and called to be your friends, and people who will be there to help you and move you forward and be your advocates, they will come. And sometimes it's seasonal, because people who really are on a mission, you can't even put a finger on them as to where they're going to go next. It's not like they're haphazard, but they have a project, or they have a goal, or they have a process they need to complete. They do it in completion, and then they move to the next assignment. And so it's okay to be alone. It's okay. And being alone may be the price of the success that you want, because other people just can't hang out with you. I heard somebody today say, people will watch what you do, but they don't know what you've heard. So you heard what needs to be done, and people are watching you and thinking, oh, that's pretty weird. Simon is a little, and Simon is a little off a little bit there, in that every day I would look on Instagram and see, I'm here to fire you up and bring you some motivation, because we need motivation like we need oxygen. And if you've listened to Simon for any years, or you go on IG, and please do, because he is a dynamic motivator, you will have heard that for years. Years. Why? Because that's what he heard to tell us, and consistently say it so that we would get it. But that's a part of his assignment, to bring that motivation. And now that he's moved and elevated his processes and his goals to another level, he has a whole different opening that I haven't mastered yet. but you can tell I've listened to you a few
Yes.
times, right?
Well, I'm growing too. I'm learning about my marketing. I'm learning about branding, create
Mm-hmm.
memorable phases. I have just like you had me coach you. I've had someone else coaching me as well for branding, marketing. We gotta keep on working, getting better, right? We
Yeah.
can't be complacent, and that's
Yeah.
what makes things exciting. When we're growing, I think that's when things are fulfilling. Right? It's like
Right.
the kid who's learning to all of a sudden learns to ride a bike, right? The kid that couldn't swim but can swim. It's fulfilling. It's exciting. It's when we stop growing that life gets meaningless. It's really
Yes,
boring.
exactly. And so, the part that we play, Simon, in the whole scheme of things, is being a piece of other people's lives that helps them to build bridges. And so one of the bridges that you have built that I would like to talk about is your book. And I'm going to find it here, but your book, The Consistency Pill. I'm going to talk about this for a minute. And I want you to talk about it for more than a minute, but I'm going to talk about it for a minute. And it is absolutely a joy, and the kind of things that I geek out on, because I'm a process person, I'm a 1, 2, 3 person, and I really appreciated the technical approach that you took to this book. The consistency pill, the 7-step system to increase sales and transform your business. So based on who you are, and what this book has been able to do for you and other people, what brought this work to the forefront?
I think back to when I first started, I didn't have any skills. I couldn't sell. I didn't know anything about marketing. And I had to buy courses. I bought, I remember the first, by the way, the first book I ever bought was Selling 101 by Zig Ziglar. And the only reason I bought that book on Amazon was because it was the cheapest book at that time. It was $8.97. And I was too cheap. I would go out there, I'll buy beers for drinks for $20, spend $100 dinners, but too cheap to buy a book. But I bought that book,
Mm.
and then I was like, wow, I got hooked into personal development, and I'll buy CD courses, like $100 for 6 CDs to learn. Now that's I learned, I got better. But then I think now, ever since YouTube is out, everything's out. We have anything you want to learn is out there for free, right? We have more training than ever, but especially in like a solopreneur, could be a network marketer. It could be someone who's affiliate marketer, online marketer, just starting out. All the training is out there, but what holds people back is consistency. And in fact, because
Mm.
there's so much knowledge out there, they don't know what to do. They're thinking about what to do, and then all of a sudden the day is up. The day's over, and they spend another day we're not doing. Or they get into like training mode, thinking like, "Oh, I did a lot of things," but I actually did nothing. Right.
Right.
So I wrote the book because I wanted to say, "Hey, none of the training really matters unless you're consistent." And people know consistency is important, but they don't know how. So I gave them a step-by-step approach how to stay consistent, and that's where the consistency system comes from. Where like you've achieved a lot of goals, Janice. And if any of the goals you have achieved, you have applied the 7 components of the consistency system. Well, you may not even know it, but you applied these 7 things. So I made
True.
you more about these are the 7 things. And people who are out there who have goals, often they fail at the goals because of lack of consistent action. But if you did these
Right.
7 things, you're going to stay consistent, and then you're going to hit your goals. So that's why I wrote out the book, because it's like take all the training out there, but apply and be consistent. You don't need to learn
Right.
more things. You don't need to learn more things. You need to start taking consistent action on what you learned already.
Exactly. And I agree with you. I have a friend who he and I used to be into the ever learning, ever learning, always another seminar, always another book, always another. And after a while, you just got to say, wait a minute. All of this money I've spent, all of this time I've invested, what have I really learned? And so the other 2 days ago, he sent me an email with a new program that he was interested in. And I said, no, we're not going to another thing. We're not doing another, we're not doing another thing. Why? Because I think that if we maximize what we know, we will be far ahead than continually staying in the same spot, continuing to fill up, fill up, fill up, and never giving out. And so what your system is comprised of, I'm going to read these 7 things real quick. A checklist, making a checklist. Oh my God. Like you talked about, the soy sauce, the soy sauce. Um, create and schedule the time. And I always tell people, don't prioritize your schedule your priorities.
Yes, yes.
So determine the strategy. We have to have a strategy. Nobody gets on the field without a strategy. And if you do, you're not going to win. So you have to have a strategy. Choose your environment. Get an environment that's conducive to taking action. Tracking. If it's not tracked, then it did it really happen, right?
That's right.
Tracking. And then the toolbox, and you list some things inside of the toolbox that a person needs. But this final one is really one of the things that you are, Simon, are extremely good at, which is accountability. Because we can say that we're doing all these things, but sometimes it's the realization, like with my friend, the accountability that no, we don't need to go to another place. What have we done with the things we've already learned? So, accountability. Can you speak to how powerful the accountability portion of this system is?
It's like you don't feel like going to the gym, but if you're meeting a friend there, you probably show up there, right? Accountability. Or you don't feel like going to the gym, even better, you paid $100 to hire a trainer and you're not going to waste that $100. You're going to show up. We all need accountability. We're human. We all slack off. That's why that's one of the reasons I'm honored to be on the show, because in a way it's another type of accountability, right? While I'm sharing my vision on here, and we're going to have like tens of thousands of people listening here, eventually
Right.
later on millions, then I put my name out there. I got to start showing up. I got to be that leader.
Right.
I got to stay consistent and do what I said I'm going to do. So accountability is so important. And there's different types of accountability. There's daily accountability, monthly accountability, weekly accountability. And that, as I discovered, most people are really successful. They don't need to learn more.
Right.
What they do need is accountability. Like your friend, right? And I call that friend. I hope he does. I know he's going to listen to this. He doesn't take it the wrong way, but he sounds to me like a personal development junkie. Just learning,
As I was.
learning, because learning is fun. But you got to understand, when you're going through learning, you're learning. Are you learning for entertainment? Or that's nothing wrong with that. Reading all these books, taking these courses because it's fun, nothing wrong with that. But if you want to learn to make money, it's totally different. Like someone that I looked up to, he gave me great advice early on. It was like, he doesn't even finish reading books. He never finished reading a book. Never. But what he does, though, when he picks up a book and he finds a good aha moment, he immediately puts the book down and makes sure he implements that within the first 30 days. And then he'll go on to another book. He won't even read that
Right.
book again. But then what happens is he does that for 12 times a year. New book, implement immediately. New book, implement.
Mhm.
And then he's been an entrepreneur for 30 years. That stuff compounds. That's why this guy's made over 100 million. Right?
Right.
He takes a book. Most people, we get a book, and I used to feel this way because we're programmed and brainwashed by school. We got to read the book cover to cover. Oh, then I did a great job. But you don't make any money by that. It's better like you read and immediately go implement it. Right? And one of the best ways to implement, and there's a difference between personal development and personal growth.
True.
Personal development is like learning. But growth is actually you growing. Why are you reading anyway? Why are you taking the courses anyway? For entertainment? Now, if you want entertainment, that's no problem. But if you want to make money and grow, you got to take action on what you learned.
Yes.
If that's the difference between personal development and action. I just got off an interview. Part of the 3 hours talking was, give her a shout out, Maria Mariano. She's earned over millions in the business. Her team did $1 billion in sales. And she talks about, she reached an area where she needed to grow her business. And the only way to do it, she had to grow herself. So what she did every morning was she would do personal development, and then she would journal it, write it down, because that's a form of accountability. And then she would apply and then teach it to her team. She did a Facebook Live in English, and then she did a Facebook Live in French.
Okay.
So think about it, 3 times. She wrote it down, and then shared it with her team. What she's going to do in English, she did like 3 times. That's accountability at its finest, right? And she has a team of 50,000 people. 50,000 people. Like, oh, Maria's doing that now. Right? And
how's it going, Maria? How's it going?
Right. She came from like the smallest, very small market, but became the #1 team in her entire company.
Wow.
From that, like personal growth, right? So it's not about what you It's like what you take action on that gets
Yes.
you the money. And you know,
Yeah.
action. I was talking about
Action is
action. You talk about the new. I'm sorry, the new my new pep talk when I started. Action creates satisfaction. When we feel
yes.
good, when you read all those quotes, and by the way, I've been there before, right? Look at all the books behind me, right? I sometimes say, wow, people, wow, you read so much. That's actually been a curse. Because when I started online marketing,
Mm,
I was reading, but no action. Yeah, and deep
yeah.
down, I felt my self esteem was low. I was like, what? I'm not doing it. I'm just learning. So I just say, I'm not going to learn anymore. I'm going to take action on what I learned, and then I'm going to learn. But I
Right.
got to take
Right.
action right now on what I just learned.
Well, just even from the standpoint of our faith, there's a verse of scripture that says, ever learning, but never coming into the knowledge of the truth.
Amen.
So we can, and I'm the same as you. I can't even fit the books behind me that I that I have in this household. And I think that Amazon would probably call me in case they ran out of something just to see if I had it before they had to go to the warehouse, because I have a lot of books. And the question becomes, of all those books, what is the implementation rate? What is the rate of return? As they talk about the rate of return, the velocity of your money in your investments, what's the velocity of the
Mm,
return on what you've learned?
so good.
Because
The velocity.
I know for me, I feel like the velocity, I'm getting more velocity now on the things that I've learned. And I feel like there's a compound effect, but I can't even begin to tell you where I might have been. And I know I'm where I should be, but where I might have been if I had this same mindset when I was buying the Brian Tracy's of the world and the John Maxwell's of the world and oh my goodness, I can't even begin to imagine that, you know? And I feel like that I use them as stair steps, but what if I had taken more action
Yeah.
and
But I,
had been a
we've all been there, and I think at this point, it's just like that's part of the learning curve. Because
yeah,
again, we've been all programmed, brainwashed by school. You got to learn, go finish first grade, then go to second grade, and third grade, and then everything's sequential.
right,
Well, business is not about sequentials, but you learn something, and you see something, you implement quickly. You can
right,
skip a lot of steps.
yeah,
You don't need it.
yeah,
Like for example, you don't need to finish the book,
right.
right? Like,
And
oh, but I
sometimes
spent $15 on it. It'll cost you more. Sometimes for some of these books, it costs you more to finish. It costs you more money to finish the book than to skip the book, stop the book, right?
you
As long as
know,
you take action on what you learned already.
that's interesting you say that. I was listening to, right? Someone, and they were talking about how much money a person wanted to make.
Hmm.
And they said, "Well, ma'am, how much?" I think it may have been Alex Hormozy, and he was talking to somebody, and he said, "How much do you want to make a year?" And the person said $1 million, and he said, "Well, how much are you making?" And she said something like 45,000 or something along those lines. And he says, "So every year you live, you are now in a deficit of $950,000 a year because of what you're not doing to make that
Mm.
$1 million."
That's good.
That right there, like every year you're in your own personal deficit
You're in a
because
debt,
to yourself,
the worst
because of
debt to
what you
yourself.
haven't done to learn what you need to learn. And that's why achievement mastery is so important. What do I need to learn to get to the next level in my life? What are the skills that I need if I am saying, "Will you have fries with that?" Right? Will you have fries with that? And can I upsize that for you? What do I need to learn to get to the next place of having the keys to the door? What do I need to learn to get to the next place of signing an agreement for a franchise? What do I need to, because just because you're in a fast food environment does not preclude that you cannot be the owner
Yeah.
of that. What do you need to learn becomes the question. For instance, a young lady, her name is Tanya Holiday. and I hope if she's listening to this, someday she'll listen to this. I'm going to send it to her because I know her. She started her career having not one but two degrees from a university, I believe it was North Carolina University, University of North Carolina, came back to the Philadelphia area, was not able to get a job as quickly as she would have liked. This was about 30 years ago. So this is a little while ago, but this is the same scenario with people who now want to get a job. 2 degrees, not able to get a job, decided she wanted to, she didn't want to, she had to get a job at the local McDonald's. And not even saying, will you have fries with that, but cleaning the bathrooms. Fast forward, she got a promotion too. Will you have fries with that, Simon? Fast forward 30 years later, she owns every McDonald's, which ends up being maybe 7 of them in the area where we call in Philadelphia the main line. She went from cleaning toilets to being a franchise owner for multiple establishments in the area where she grew up.
That's
Will you
because
have
she
fries
did
with
not
that?
want a job. She had the vision of herself.
Yes.
She's working cleaning toilets, but that's not how she saw Tanya Holiday as. She saw
Yes.
herself, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm way bigger than
Yes.
this. This is just a
Yes.
temporary thing that's going to lead me. She had the vision, the end goal,
Yes.
in mind. Right?
Yes.
She just didn't happen to work hard and get lucky. She had a plan.
Right.
Like, I'm going to do this
No.
and maybe strategically network, make it a good impression, network, and move her way up. That's really, I love that. This is what a story.
So when she had some skills, but there were other skills that even in the midst of where she was, though she was way overqualified, she still had to stack a few extra skills to get to that place of signing that first agreement, signing that second agreement, signing that third agreement. Now speaking on stages, and you know what that entails, right? With all of the things that come along with that, and the humble stardom that she carries, because she knows that it was work. It wasn't by no means luck, as we know luck to be talked about. So the skills that we need are so important, and mastering those skills are so important as well. So I know that consistency is one of the most important skills for you with regard to what you would tell entrepreneurs. And I'm glad now you're telling people outside of the network marketing world, because I think that that particular advice needs to be heard by more people than just those who are building those types of organizations.
Yeah.
Aside from consistency, what other skill, if there were one other skill that you would advise people to acquire, what other skill would you say helped you along your path? What would be that one?
Well, I don't know if there's one thing. I think there's a couple principles.
Mm-hmm.
I know not necessarily skill, and one of them is to be different, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
being the purple cow. I read the book by Seth Godin. One of the best books I read at that time in my life, 20 years ago in 2004. The purple cow. Like if you are, and that goes back to marketing, right? I think the one skill is I've always been a good marketer. I didn't know I was a good marketer, but I got it, right? And like if you blend in, you want to be like everyone else, then you're like the black and white cow. What happens to the black and white cow? It gets slaughtered and becomes hamburger meat at McDonald's. Right? But if you become a purple cow, people are like, "Ooh, look at that!" All of a sudden, you stand out. People think you're different, you're weird. But you'll be in a museum, you'll be somewhere at an animal show. You get to live, right? You'll probably be the most famous cow in the world. So, doing something to stand out, and don't do what everyone else is doing. If everyone does zigging, you got zag, right? If everyone's doing, no one's, everyone's doing, I got to do it. If everyone's doing, you got to do it. It's almost normally it's kind of too late. It's kind of like if you see the taxi driver, well, back then it was a taxi driver. Now I guess it would be Uber driver. If you have, but the old saying was, if the taxi driver is talking about a stock, giving you a stock tip, that's when you got to sell that stock, right? If everyone knows it. That's the advice I got, right? You got to get in when no one else is doing. When everyone else is doing it, that's when you got to get the heck out of here. You got to be different and different.
Right.
And that's really the other principle will be like getting outside your comfort zone, right? Being
Okay.
different, being that purple cow, you gotta be doing something you're not comfortable doing. And it goes back to
Mhm.
the first time I made a sales call is very different. And all your dreams and goals are outside your comfort zone. So if you keep
Mhm.
doing what you're used to doing, you're never going to achieve mastery. You only achieve mastery when you go outside and push yourself, do things you've never done before, do
Mhm.
the risky stuff. Having it goes back to having more courage, be bold, right? Whether it's social media or doing your outreaches or doing your advertising, something different. That's when you get the results. And I'm a huge Apple fan, even more back in the day. Like Apple used to be very different. Their ads are different, their technology is different, but they're definitely the purple cow, right? The
Mhm.
computers look different. The phone was the first one, no buttons, but going outside the comfort zone, doing something that no one else is doing, that's
Mhm.
something that's definitely helped me out. And many times it didn't work, but all you need is one or two
Mm.
times to work, and then it can take
Right.
off.
And then you can always tweak it. You
Yeah,
can
well, that
tweak
goes
it.
back to, yes, taking action. Version 1.0 is always better than version 0.0. Right? I think
Right.
a lot of new entrepreneurs, you never achieve mastery by perfecting it, trying to be perfect again. You achieve mastery by getting out to market and make, like you said, constant tweaks all the time, and then you
Mhm.
create a masterpiece.
Right. Yeah. When you create a brand that's strong enough, you can be like an Apple who can put something out that maybe they know next week they coming right behind it with an update, but
Yeah,
they need to be
because
first to
Apple's
market.
release. Yeah, Apple's releases always has a lot of bugs. The first one, right? I never download the new iPhone releases. I wait for like if it's 8.0 or whatever, 18.0 or whatever it is, right? I never download that. I get the 18.1, 18.2,
Yeah.
but they don't know the
Yeah, yeah.
fixes until they get it out there,
Yeah.
right? And then you're making constant improvements. Like the first
Yeah.
iPhone, if you think about it, was actually pretty crappy. It didn't have you couldn't do a lot of things. You couldn't do copy and
Mhm.
paste stuff, but they just got it out there and they made a
Yes.
lot of quick improvements over quickly, quickly,
Yes.
quickly.
Yeah, you gotta move. You gotta put it out there and you gotta continue to move and stay with it. You cannot relent as you are progressing. So being unique, being creative, getting out of your comfort zone are skills to add to whatever it is that a person is doing to help them to get to that next level. Now, what of the many books that you have read at some length, what one book would you offer as a book for someone who's saying, "Simon, I don't know where to start." What book would you offer them?
Is this person a new entrepreneur or a seasoned entrepreneur, or is it a person who's just working at a job and just needs some motivation or wants mastery at the job? Who's the target audience? Who am I
Um, I'm
speaking to?
I'm I'm gonna say the person who's the professional, the person who is in the work world, the marketplace as a professional.
And how long have they been working?
5 to 10 years.
Well, two books comes to mind. Um, and the first one is seems very basic, but I didn't read it until I worked more than 5 years in the corporate America, and I still didn't ever know about this book. And that's why I was like, "What? Why is this?" I remember this guy. Well, he was one of my first mentors, and he's an entrepreneur now, very successful, awesome guy who's 10 years older. And that's a tip too. Having mentors that are older than you who've been through where you've been to. So I was in my
Mhm.
20s, he was in his 30s. He was 10 years
Okay.
older. And he used to like be just he didn't work that hard, right? Like I was a grinder. Oh, come in early, stay late at work. Come in early, stay late at work. He would come in late, leave early. Come late, leave early. And when he's working, like I'm grinding, but he would chit chat around the office, talk to people or that. I was like, but then he always got the best gigs. So
Mhm.
that time I was at the NBA working for the National Basketball Association, NBA Entertainment. We do basketball shoots, right? Video shoots of players. And you always got the coolest gigs. Well, I saw a lot of people like they're working harder. They got like boring jobs, boring projects. You got the coolest
Mhm.
projects. It's because, and then I read this book, which I'm going to recommend, is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah.
Yes.
Like You got to have friends in the right places. And that's, I just think, oh, that person, like, you got luck. No, it's a skill. How to
Right.
win friends and influence people. I talk about the three most influential books. The Bible is one of them, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and the other one's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Because I was never taught that. I was like taught by merit. You work hard, you get it. Yes. But then the world doesn't work that way, right? We do business by people we know, like, and trust. You
True.
like the person, and he was a guy that was a great networker. He was cool. I liked him. I consider him one of my mentors. I still keep in touch with him 25, 30 years later. I still send him
Mhm.
messages. But he was a cool guy that everyone liked, and he was working smart. Not I worked hard, but I worked dumb. He worked smart,
Mm.
and when he on his projects, he did work hard. But during the times when he didn't need to work, he was networking. What I thought he was slacking off, he was making friends with people in the office, chit chatting and stuff like that. He was a great, great networker. His name's Tom Kearns. Give him a shout out on the
Mhm.
show. Uh, How to Win Friends. He didn't tell me about the book, but when I read the book, I was like, oh, wow, this is what he's
This is
doing.
what he's doing. This
Right?
is what he's
Brilliant.
doing.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. The second
Okay.
one is will be Success Principles by Jack Canfield. It's
Okay.
not a very well-known book. I don't think it's marketed well, but it was. I read it when I was like 5 years, 3 years into my entrepreneurial journey. Just talk about what it takes to be successful, how successful people think, these principles, right? And I never, no one told me that. I just thought you work hard, but like, I was negative, I was cynical, I was like disgruntled sometimes, jealous. These are all like those are all failure principles. Success principles was
Mm.
really, really helpful by Jack Canfield.
Mhm. Those are awesome. Um, Definitely How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, and then Success Principles by Jack Canfield. So those are amazing. Thank you so much, Simon. So everyone, I want you to get to know Simon, and I will have his information in the show notes, wherever the show notes show up. I will have his information there. You should connect with him, whether you are in to the network marketing world or even as a business professional, because as you hear, he's going to be coming out with some information that will be able to help you in a way that makes sense to a person in the business world. So, and then also get to know me. You'll see my information around, and hope that you like, share, comment, review, and all of those wonderful things with regard to this podcast. Simon, what is next for Simon?
What is next for Simon? Like I share with you, I'm expanding to coaching people outside of um, direct selling, and I'm basically started working with someone already on this. Is actually very excited. Someone who's just starting a dog training business and helping with lead generation through social media.
Nice,
So
nice.
helping them with Instagram and Facebook, finding people on there. So that's something very exciting, something new. But at the same time, like I said, I'm expanding my second business, MLM Nation, the business that services people in direct selling. That gets
Mhm.
me excited. When you make a positive, it's like when you focus on making this is what I remember, right? Like every time I focus on purpose and making an impact, it always comes back. When you focus on
Yes,
making money for yourself, it doesn't. We just focus. I need to make money. It's not very exciting. But
right.
I'm
There's
excited.
gonna be a
Fired up.
slow return on that. There's gonna be a slow return.
Slow return is not very fulfilling, and this is
Yes.
it becomes very disappointing, right? Because your
Yeah.
purpose is greater than money. Your purpose has got to be
Yeah.
greater. That's actually how I got started way back in
Yeah.
2003 when I wrote Purpose Driven Life.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Simon, it has been a pleasure. Everybody, please again, contact Simon, get his information. It'll be in the show notes. We are here to help you to continue to master the things that you want to master to achieve the life that you deserve. And we greatly appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. And it is bye for now.
God bless you all.
God bless. Mm. And I'm not able to end this recording.
No worries. That was awesome.
Bye for now. I'm good. Bye
Hey,
for
let me take
now.
a